the world is once again watching New Delhi and Washington, two powerful democracies separated by an ocean but bound by strategy, commerce, and a shared ambition for influence. In a time when global politics is shifting faster than ever, Indian commerce, Minister Piyush Goyal's statement that India and the United States will find a landing ground has echoed across boardrooms and war rooms alike. What sounds like a simple reassurance is, in truth, a coded message about the future of global trade, technology, and trust. Because behind that one phrase lies a complex web of negotiations, pressures, and power plays, all shaping what could be the next great economic alignment of the 21st century. Let's start where this story truly begins, not in a conference hall, but in the corridors of quiet strategy. Over the last few months, ties between India and the United States have been tested. From disagreements over Russian oil purchases to concerns about tariffs, visa policies, and trade deficits, the world's two largest democracies have found themselves in a strange dance, sometimes partners, sometimes competitors. Yet, through every challenge, the relationship has endured. And now with Piyush Goyal's statement, New Delhi has made something clear. No matter how turbulent the waters, both sides intend to land safely on common ground. For India, this is not just about diplomacy, it's about destiny. As one of the fastest-growing economies on the planet, India's global relevance has skyrocketed. Every nation, from Washington to Beijing, now views New Delhi as a pivotal power broker. For the United States, whose foreign policy has often leaned on economic influence, maintaining strong ties with India isn't optional, it's essential. The Indo-Pacific is becoming the most contested region on Earth, and India sits right at its heart. But what exactly does finding a landing ground mean in practice? It means negotiation, not surrender. It means compromise, not compliance. It means partnership, not pressure. Washington wants greater access to India's markets, a stronger stance on Russia, and alignment on digital trade rules. India, on the other hand, wants something equally significant: fair treatment, freedom to trade, and respect for its independent decisions. This isn't just about diplomacy. It's about pride, politics, and power. Let's look at the real picture. In the past 2 years, India's trade with the United States has hit record highs, crossing over $190 billion. American companies are investing heavily in Indian tech, manufacturing, and infrastructure. Yet this partnership isn't without its cracks. The U.S. has raised concerns over India's tariffs, digital data rules, and its oil imports from Russia. But New Delhi isn't backing down. Instead, it's balancing between Washington and Moscow, between economic opportunity and political sovereignty. When Piyush Goyal says both nations will find a landing ground, it's a signal of strategic patience, a recognition that temporary turbulence doesn't define a long-term flight path. It's an acknowledgement that, in the real world of diplomacy, confrontation may grab headlines, but compromise shapes history. Behind closed doors, negotiators are working on multiple fronts. Talks are underway to resolve differences over trade barriers, investment frameworks, and intellectual property rights. The United States wants India to open up more sectors to American firms, from e-commerce to agriculture. India, in return, wants better access for its goods, smoother visa policies for its professionals. An acknowledgement that it cannot be treated like a junior partner. This evolving dialogue is not merely transactional, it's transformational. Because what happens in these talks will determine whether India and the U.S. become true global allies or remain strategic partners with occasional disagreements. The stakes are enormous. Both nations are shaping the architecture of the global economy, from semiconductor alliances to clean energy partnerships. From space cooperation to AI-driven trade systems, the foundation being built today will determine how the world's future industries function. Now look at the geopolitical context. The U.S. is facing growing challenges: a slowing economy, tensions with China, and an upcoming election that could redefine its foreign priorities. India, meanwhile, is facing its own tests: border tensions, economic inflation, and the task of lifting millions more into prosperity. Both nations need each other, and both know that this partnership can't be taken for granted. But this is where the story becomes fascinating. Every time Washington has tried to pressure India on oil, on defense, or on trade, New Delhi has responded not with defiance, but with confidence. When the U.S. criticized India for buying discounted Russian crude, India replied with a single statement: "We will do what is best for our national interest." And today, that very oil trade has kept inflation in check and powered India's economy when others were struggling. It's a masterclass in sovereign strategy. So when Goyal speaks of finding a landing ground, he's talking about an equal partnership. Not an alliance built on obedience, but on understanding. A partnership where India's decisions are not judged through the lens of Western expectations, but through the reality of global pragmatism. And this approach is working. Despite all the noise about tensions, trade between India and the U.S. continues to grow. American defense firms are eyeing Indian contracts. Silicon Valley is hiring more Indian talent than ever before. And in Washington, lawmakers are realizing that India isn't just another partner, it's the partner. Let's be honest, both sides have red lines. India won't compromise on food subsidies, digital sovereignty, or energy independence. The U.S. won't tolerate high tariffs or opaque investment rules. Yet, both sides know that walking away would be a strategic mistake. That's why Piyush Goyal's statement matters. It's not a casual comment. It's a roadmap for reconciliation. In the coming months, trade delegations will intensify talks on a possible mini-deal, one that addresses specific irritants like medical devices, agricultural access, and intellectual property. While a full trade agreement might take years, even a partial framework would send a powerful message to global investors that India and the U.S. are back in sync. And make no mistake, markets listen closely to these signals. At the same time, both sides are expanding cooperation beyond economics. Military exercises, defense technology transfers, and joint intelligence operations are already deepening under the Quad framework. Washington knows that a stable Indo-Pacific requires a strong India. New Delhi knows that strategic technology partnerships with the U.S. can accelerate its defense modernization. This convergence of interests is what makes the relationship resilient, even when trade disputes flare. Let's talk perception. For decades, India was seen as cautious, even hesitant on global matters. But today, the world sees a different India. Assertive, self-confident, and unapologetically independent. And that confidence has transformed its diplomacy. When Piyush Goyal speaks, he is not just speaking as a trade minister. He is voicing a national posture. India will cooperate, but it will never compromise its core values. That's the essence of India's modern foreign policy: cooperation without coercion. And that's why this current phase in India's relations is so crucial. The two countries are learning to deal with disagreements without derailing the partnership. That's maturity. That's strategy. That's real diplomacy. In a world where even allies often clash from Washington and Brussels to Beijing and Moscow, India and the U.S. are demonstrating something rare: strategic endurance. Every trade dispute, every diplomatic friction is now part of a larger process of recalibration. The U.S. wants India inside its economic circle of trust, especially as Washington decouples from China. India wants access to advanced technology, defense manufacturing, and investment capital. Both sides know that they need each other to counter China's growing influence in the region. So even when tensions rise, the logic of partnership remains stronger. And here's where the bigger picture becomes clear. The world is changing. The era of one-sided globalization is ending. Countries like India are rewriting the rules, demanding fairness, equity, and respect. The U.S. is realizing that influence today can't come through pressure. It comes through partnership. And this is the heart of the landing ground Goyal referred to. It's not about compromise, it's about convergence. As global power structures shift, this relationship will define the shape of the next global order. Imagine a world where India's manufacturing growth aligns with American technology and capital. A world where New Delhi becomes the energy, trade, and logistics hub of Asia, while Washington provides the innovation, defense, and financial backbone. That's not just a vision, it's a strategic inevitability. If both sides can keep talking, negotiating, and building trust. As the cameras flash and statements roll out, remember this: every word from leaders like Piyush Goyal is carefully chosen. Finding a landing ground is not just diplomatic language. It's a signal to the world that dialogue, not discord, will shape the future. The message is clear. India and the United States may differ on methods, but they share a mission: a stable, prosperous, and multipolar world where no single power dominates. In this emerging world, India's role is not of a follower, but a balancer, the voice of the global South, the bridge between developed and developing worlds, and the moral center of global diplomacy. The U.S. knows this, respects this, and increasingly relies on it. That's why, despite all challenges, the partnership continues to strengthen. So, when you hear that phrase, "we will find a landing ground," understand what it truly means. It means both nations are adjusting their flight paths, but they're flying toward the same destination. It means trust is being tested, but not broken. And it means the world's two most powerful democracies are proving that in geopolitics. Maturity is not about avoiding conflict, it's about resolving it. This is the story of India and the United States in 2025. Not allies bound by fear, but partners bound by future. In a world divided by walls, they're building bridges. And at the center of that bridge stands a vision of cooperation without compromise, of trade without tension, of friendship built not on dependence, but on respect. 'Cause that's what modern India stands for. A nation that negotiates with strength, leads with clarity, and always lands on its own terms.